Hello everyone, welcome to another day of Crimson Vow spoilers review. We got some bunch of cards here that I really want to talk about, so we're gonna quickly jump into it. Okay, so the first card, Henrika Domnathi. 4 mana 1/3. A little bit underwhelming. Legendary creature, vampire. Flying at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Each player sacrifices a creature, you draw a card, and you lose 1 life. And lastly, transform Henrika Domnathi, which becomes 3/4 Flying Death Touch Lifelink. You can pay 3. Each creature you control with Flying Death Touch and or Lifelink gets +1 attack until the end of turn. Okay, so it has a pump effect. Got it. So 4 mana 3/4. It can become a 4 mana 3/4 basically on the turn you play it, which is a Flying Death Touch and Lifelink. A 4 mana 3/4 Death Touch Lifelink that is flying is probably fine for standard. Definitely not playable in historic. But what you can do is the fact that now you have some choices when you first play it. So you can only choose this once, because it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one that hasn't been chosen. So once you go through all these choices, then you ultimately have to transform her. Each player sacrifice a creature could be relevant. You draw a card, you lose a life. That's also sweet. So the turn it comes down, you can choose either of those two, depending on the circumstances. But most times, I think it's going to be 4 mana, draw a card, you lose 1 life. In the following turn, when this card can attack, you transform her, and then she becomes a 3/4 lifelinker. Question is that good enough? I mean, definitely one thing I don't like about this card that is the fact that it costs 4. Lifelink is kind of precious, and especially considering the fact that the new Sorin depletes your life. So having lifelink might be relevant, and that's one of the big reasons why you would consider playing this. But can this be played alongside something like a Merstern Predator? Maybe. We'll have to see. One thing to note is that this actually doesn't go too well with Olivia. Because it's only when Olivia attacks, it can reanimate something. And Henrika says that at the beginning of combat on your turn, you get to choose one of these effects. So there's some downside of playing this card alongside with Olivia. I don't even think that you can even play Olivia in standard unless you can somehow cheat it out, in which case in historic you can. So if you're playing Olivia, I definitely wouldn't be playing Henrika because they don't really go well together. Next card, Patchwork Crawler. 2 mana 1/2 zombie horror. You can pay 3 mana, exile target creature card from your graveyard and put +1/+1 counter on itself. And it has all the activated abilities of a creature cards exiled with it. Maybe there's some combo potential with this. I also don't like the fact that it can only exile your creature card, and it has to be a creature card, which is kind of a bummer. I wish it was any card so that you can actually play this as a graveyard hate. But outside of combo potential, but the 1/2 that requires you to pay 3 to grow into a 2/3 seems a bit slow, but the ability is sweet. I'm not sure if I've seen anything like this before. Also, don't think we'll see this in standard with this card. But as more cards come out, this card may see potential and potentially becoming broken. I can definitely see some like really janky stuff that lets you like have infinite mana, or yeah, I don't know what you can do with this. Like there's probably something you can do with this. I can't think of anything, but it definitely has a potential of breaking something. This card is an enigma. Okay, next card, Thirst for Discovery. 3 mana instant speed, draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a basic land card. Actually a really good card. Of course, there's variations of these cards, as I'm aware of Thirst for Knowledge and Thirst for Meaning. I believe Thirst for Knowledge, you have to discard an artifact card if you don't want to discard those two cards. As for Thirst for Meaning, it's for enchantments. And amongst those three, I actually think this is one of the best ones out there. Just because you only have to discard a basic land card. So yeah, good card, good card. This is also a way to fill your graveyard, which we don't really have at the moment available in standard. So this is a welcome addition. Okay, Bloodvial Purveyor. 4 mana 5/6. Wow. Vampire. You're saying it's a 4 mana 5/6 with a flying trample. That's insane. Okay. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player creates a blood token. Okay, so there's some downside to it. Whenever Bloodvial Purveyor attacks, it gets +1 for each blood token defending player controls. Let's see. The 4 mana 5/6 that doesn't do anything when it comes down. I think we have seen multiple of these cards before. Giving blood token is definitely a downside. It lets your opponent look for answers. And the fact that this doesn't do anything on the turn it comes down. So this is also 4 mana, just like the previous vampire that we saw, the Henrika. How good is this card? It's so hard to evaluate these kind of cards because they have these amazing stats. At a first glance, it's just absolutely amazing. 4 mana 5/6. It's the best card I've seen. That's the first impression I get, but this probably has to be a trap, right? It does let you block almost everything in the game that are flying. At least Spellbinder, all the dragons. So it is a really good blocker. The thing is, Vampire isn't really a beatdown deck. More control-y, right? Is Vampire looking for a strong beatdown? In my honest opinion, for 4 mana, I actually really like Henrika more just because of flexibility. And also, like, are we gonna be playing Bloodvial Purveyor, Henrika, and Immersed Predator in the same deck? We aren't, right? So we definitely need to see which cards are... We need to evaluate which cards are better than the other. The thing about Immersed Predator, which I don't like in a vampire deck, is the fact that there's not that... Vampire decks don't play that many vampires. Even though although it's a creature deck, it doesn't play that many creatures. So always having that one vampire to be sacrificed for Immersed Predator might not happen all the time. That makes me lean towards this card more. Maybe you play Henrika and Bloodvial Purveyor instead of Immersed Predator. And don't get me wrong, I think this card is really good, but I'm just thinking, if I were to play this, what cards do I take out? And is it even playable in Historic? That's another question that I want to answer. We'll have to see once more cards are released and we actually take a good look at all the vampires that are available. But definitely this is a contender. Next card. Dollhouse of Horrors. 5 mana artifact. You pay 1 mana, tap itself, exile a creature card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of exile card, except it's a 0/0 construct artifact. In addition to its other type, and it has... This creature gets +1/+1 for each construct you control. It gains haste until the end of the turn. Activate only as a sorcery. It seems like a janky card, but I've seen a similar card before, and it was actually playable. And that was Godpharaoh's Gift. When Godpharaoh's Gift was in standard, it was pretty good. So when you reanimate something as... So for this card, when you reanimate something as a construct artifact, it's immediately a 2/2. So in order for this card to be at the same power level or more, it has to at least be 3/3, because the Godpharaoh's Gift was 7 cost and this cost basically 6. Since the turn you want to play this and reanimate something, you have to have 6 mana. So for 1 less cost, reanimating something that's a 3/3 instead of a 4/4 like Godpharaoh's Gift seems like it would be on the same power level. What made Godpharaoh's Gift so good was the fact that you could cheat it out with the Gate of the Afterlife. Considering that we potentially might not see this card being played, but at the same time, there's so many ways to create... The thing is, in this standard, there's so many ways to make treasure tokens. you can ramp into this card. And treasure tokens are also artifacts, making your creatures bigger. So it seems janky at first, but I think this card actually might be good. Alright. Next card. Mulch. Ooh. So here's a surprising reprint. 2 mana. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all land cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest into the graveyard. So whenever this is in standard set, people use this to fill the graveyard with. So this is a welcome addition right now because there's just no way to fill your graveyard at the moment. Next card. Dreadful Service. 3 mana enchantment. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Why is it gotta be once each turn? And why is it gotta be whenever you discard 1 or more cards? Because that wording makes it so that if you discard 2 at a time, you can't create 2 zombies. So unless you can discard at an instant speed on your opponent's turn to make an additional zombie each turn, this is probably a bad card. I mean, what am I saying? This is just a bad card because this is probably overcosted. It probably should be 2 mana instead. Make it 1 mana, and I'll play this card. Okay, next card, Stansia Uprising. 4 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 red human creature token. Then if you control exactly 13 permanents, you may sacrifice this. When you do, it deals 7 damage to any target. Okay, so we've seen a similar card before, which I think is just a strictly better card than this, called Outlaw's Merriment, which is another 4 mana enchantment, and it never saw play. I mean, I shouldn't say it never saw play. It's like competitively, it never saw play. And for something as so specific as controlling 13 permanents, and the fact that you have to sacrifice this permanent, you would expect to do like some game-winning stuff. But all it does is deal 7 damage. At least deal 13 damage. Yeah, the card probably will not see play. Next card. And this is the last card. Headless Rider. 3 mana 3/1 zombie. Whenever Headless Rider or another non-token zombie you control dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Wow. That's a really good card for zombies. This is similar to Annex, in which it protects your board. So even if your opponent kills this, so if your opponent board wipes, then you have a whole set of board that are 2/2 black zombies. And what's sweet is that even if they kill this creature, you get a 2/2 back, so it's not even a bad top deck if you play this by itself, because it protects itself, kind of. And I really like the fact that this is only 1 black, which means that you can definitely play this in other colors, such as Orzhov Zombies in Historic. And that's all for now. We've seen some pretty strong stuff here. What I would really love to see is a good 1-drop vampire. So the 4-drop vampires that we got are probably going to be played in standard in the vampire list, but since they are all 4 mana, we probably won't see them in historic. So I definitely love to see some strong 1-drop vampires soon. We haven't seen a 1-drop vampire since 2019, I believe, which was the 2020 core set. Definitely overdue for some good efficient vampire. But anyways, as always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and a comment, and if you haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate if you did. And I'll see you guys all later for another episode of Crimson Vow Spoilers Review.